Hi Christine, thank you so much for joining us at the SCMP studio today. Now you're the primary school principal of the Harbour School and you've been in education in the US and Hong Kong for over 20 years. How would you define the goal of education, especially for school-aged children?
So I think the goal of education is a lot more nuanced than just getting good grades. I think the goal of education is about having lots of experiences where you're discovering lots of things about yourself. There's lots of skills and lots of attributes that we have that we value as a society. Things like having emotional intelligence, things like having visual spatial intelligence. For example, our high school students, they were allocated a piece of land in Kenya behind a hospital, and they were going to create a school. To build a school and all of that, you need money. And so the rule that we had told them is we said, you cannot fundraise with the parents. They had to go pitch to companies here in Hong Kong. They had a design of the building, and then they 3D printed the design in the foundry so that it could be a more compelling case for them to fundraise. They raised $60,000 US. So that's a really cool example of how you leverage things that are academic, sort of like literacy, numeracy, math, science, in order to something that's more project-based, and that's really elevated the level of rigor.
In that sense, how should students' achievements and setbacks be measured to prepare them for the future?
I think a lot of us sometimes mistake progress as more is better, and that's not always the best thing. For people to be learning, they really have to be engaged. So it takes time, and that's kind of the antithesis of more is better. When we do have a trip on the Black Dolphin, when they are collecting water samples or they're cultivating an artificial coral reef and then eventually putting it in the water, that takes time, yes, but that's also really valuable because chances are kids are going to remember that. We have a Marine Science Center program, and it kind of looks like a little mini ocean park, if you will. One of the most rigorous things that our youngest students do is they actually make an aquarium. You have to research lots of things. You have to make sure that the creatures don't eat each other, that they can coexist. There's lots of facts and details that go into having a project like an aquarium.
Many schools say that they want their students to excel. What's your take on that? What does excellence mean to you?
My response to, excellence is two further questions, which is at what cost and by whose definition? Especially here in Hong Kong, we think success looks like a high-paying job, social prestige, all these kinds of like boxes to tick, and I think we really need to revisit that. Usually because, you ask a lot of parents, and they say, "Oh, I want my child to be a doctor, a lawyer, banker," and that's great. We definitely need those in our society, but not everybody needs to be put into that mold of being a doctor, banker, or lawyer. I always tell parents, do you want the happy artist or the miserable lawyer? We've absolutely had lots of graduates get into highly selective programs in colleges and universities, but I'm really proud of the fact that we have students who have gone as far as like taking a gap year to practice sailing for the Olympics, to get into the Olympic trials, or to getting into a music composition program at Berklee College of Music, or getting into a really selective architecture program at UC Berkeley, or getting into a shipbuilding program in Plymouth in the UK. Going back to the original thing that we were discussing, if the goal of education is about knowing who you are, then part of that is defining your own success. And I think it's really important for us, teachers, administrators, and parents to help every student to find that kind of level of success for them.
And that brings our interview to a close today. Thank you so very much for coming to the studio today, Christine.
Thanks for having me. I had a great time.